Pledge and prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, I thank you for this day. I thank you that for everything that's good that goes on in the district. Please help us as we go through this meeting to do what's best for the kids in the community and our staff. Please forgive us where we fail you. Amen.
All right. There is a quorum present. Next up, public comments.
No one signed up.
Communication.
No, sir.
Next, on number 5, the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody wants to pull from that? Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion by Terry,
I'll second it.
second by Aaron. All in favor, raise your right hand. And we got it. Next up, information items, principal report. Ms. Howe.
Very strange. Okay, so it's real short. I put attendance, this is for summer school, and so it shows you how many kids we had in attendance in each grade, 32 total. We invited, it was invitation only. We did invite more than that, but you know, there's ones that say that they can't come. It also gave you the average attendance over the whole time that we were in summer school for each grade. So you can see some grades had a little bit better than others. Some of our attendants, they were doing like makeup hours. So once they reached the time that they had to complete, then some of them didn't come. Others just continued and stayed the whole time. Summer school is complete. Today was the very last day of summer school. And then our summer professional learning has started for our staff. So we have some who've already done like CPR training and some things at Region 8 and things like that. And then we've already started decorating for our new theme, which is MES is Wild About Learning. It's a safari theme. So we've started that. And then in July, really, I put the trainings, like we have Amplify, which is the reading curriculum. We have that training at Region 8. If they're new, they have to go the 2 days, and if they've already implemented the curriculum, then they go just the last day. And then Eureka, which is the math curriculum, they have that training on the 25th and the 26th at Region 8, and then we have another CPR training in July. And the 24th and the 25th is going to be new student registration. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Wyndham?
We had several kids start off really strong and got their hours in early, so you'll notice the numbers went rather high at the very beginning and dwindled down to the very end of being today our last day. We had 11 credits made up through our exit interview process for the kids who had failed due to either academic reasons or for attendance reasons. Of course, graduation was a good success for us. Our mod band members were projecting to be 50 that will start on summer band on July the 17th. We had on here it says all that they already went to the SFA band camp. We had 3 freshmen make first chair. We had 2 7th graders that made an honor band there at the SFA camp. Their bake sale is going to start on July the 15th. And other than that, we got a bunch of teachers doing trainings this summer. I've already even got my Edge Hero from about 5 or 6 of them that were already completed. And other than that, the teachers were talking about how good the kids did during summer school. New student registration, she's already said the 24th, 25th. New teacher training on the 27th, and then teacher in service, of course, in August. Also, one other thing we found out today, or we're going to do our sub training before school starts. This year on Friday, it'll be me and Ms. Howe putting it together. So, all right. Anything, by the way? All right.
All right. Summer's going good. We started the summer with decent numbers in SWAT. Feel like we're getting stronger and faster. And we got a lot of young kids up there getting to implement some schemes early on in all sports, really. And so that's been good. Our girls are currently playing both summer basketball and softball. They play volleyball in July. Matter of fact, they're playing tonight softball. And then they play next Tuesday in Redwater. I think next Wednesday's their last one here. And then our boys are currently playing basketball as well as 7-on-7. Their last basketball game is next Tuesday in James Bowie, and then we're in a 7-on-7 league throughout July in Hooks. We started this Tuesday, actually. So we have one more week of in June of SWAT, and then we take off a week, and then we'll have 3 weeks. That's a big push to get kids up here. Fall camp for football and volleyball starts July 31st. Which they've done that in volleyball before. It's actually the first time I can ever remember them doing it in football. Normally it's an August 1 date, but pretty cool that we're starting on the July 31st. Booster Club purchased 3 reverse hypers for the weight room, which we've implemented into our summer program. And we have our next scheduled board meeting, Booster Club meeting on July 28th, and we'll start looking at needs for the 23-24 school year. Anybody got anything else?
Those are reverse hyper.
Do you want the?
I'll ask you later. That's good.
I tell you what, it works your posterior chain.
Okay.
Well, look at there.
Take a demonstration, sir.
How do you use it?
After the meeting.
All right, next up, consider and approve SSA shared service arrangement contract for 2023-2024.
You guys should have a copy. This is something we've talked about. We've reviewed it and agreed. Our attorneys have reviewed it and agreed, and then Redwater and their board agreed to that. But basically, since our LEI, our SSA with LE and Redwater dissolved, us and Redwater will stay the same. They will host the same services we were getting from Liberty ILO, which includes a director, transition services, and then they'll house our life skills students as well as our behavior adjustment students, as did LE. Overall, as we talked before, the cost will be more to the district because those costs will be shared just by us and Redwater. We budgeted in right at $70,000 for that increase. Once the school year starts, that certainly can change to some degree depending on the number of students that we have there. But certainly would recommend that we approve the agreement. This agreement is for next school year. There are ways for the district to get out if needed. If you found later on that this was not what the district so chose, there's some notification deadlines that have to be done sometime around January if the district so chose to ever want to exit the agreement.
70,000 is what we're, that's not the construction part of it.
No, this is just for the SSA services. We've been paying around right under $100,000 a year. We budgeted to pay closer to $170 this upcoming school year. Again, we'll know more once we get there and really see what those costs will be. Redwater as well, it's their first year to host it, and they're not 100% sure on those. So it's based on proportionate share. So how many kids total are in the co-op? What our percentage of that is what we'll pay, and then there's a few fees that are tacked on top of that. But we predict that's where that cost would be.
Questions?
We should, if we do this ourselves, it would cost a lot more.
It would still remain to cost more, and then we would still have to renovate and change and hire folks, and then, of course, our folks would take on more duties than that. They have the room to be able to do that, and they, of course, have more personnel to be able to handle it. So we certainly feel like, one, it is going to cost more, but I do think Redwater is going to offer a very good service for our students in an education. And so it should work very similar for us and them. But I do think it's going to be a good arrangement and be good for our kids.
All right.
Do we have a motion to approve the shared service agreement contract for 2023-2024?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Aaron, we have a second.
I'll say.
Second by Terry, all in favor, raise your right hand. Yes, unanimous. Item number 8, consider and approve Redwater Mod Construction Cost Agreement.
So this agreement is for construction on Redwater ISD campus. They are building They're going to renovate restrooms they currently have in their elementary school to make them ADA compliant, and which will include making them somewhat bigger for those students to share. And then for the middle school life skills classroom, they're actually taking and adding restrooms inside of a larger area for those students to use. The total estimated cost is $127,000 for the total reconstruction. We're going to have about half the kids in those classrooms. So this agreement is to split that cost at 50%. Our total would be $66,541 based on the current estimate. This agreement does have, if there is a change order or an increase to that, the district has a set number of days to review and agree to that, so it's not a blank check that they can write, whatever. But there is some provisions in there that we do have some control of that. With this, they are going to allow us to pay this over 2 school years. There's a certain amount per month, 20-something, I think 2,700, something like that per month. But it gives us $2,772 a month until that's paid off. So I felt like that was very fair of Redwater to give us that opportunity. If for some reason the district does choose to terminate next year and not be as part of that SSA, we still owe the full amount. So then it would just kick in, we'd have to pay all that off. But
What if they just have determined to no longer want to be with us?
if they decide to break that, then our payments would cease at whatever point that would be. And there's some litigation in there, and I don't know the 100% answer. We can go back and get that cost back. Be a good question I can look into.
I'd like to know.
I did not know that.
I'd like to know if in 2 years they just say we're not going to do it.
Now, after the 2 years and it's paid for, this agreement would be terminated, and it'd be a sunk cost that you're not going to get anything back out of that. During the 2 years, then there may be a legal claim for that. But after 2 years, it's really their stuff at that point. It's just going to be part of that. If we brought them back here, I said we would have to renovate and spend, I don't know what we would spend, but we would spend a good amount of renovation money here to make restrooms or something on that line. So, but basically after the 2 years, we've now given them those restrooms and those funds.
Kathy, good?
But I'll ask on that too, find out for you.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the Redwater Mod Construction Cost Agreement?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Terry, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Aaron. All in favor, raise your right hand. Discuss MISD's 2023 bond issuance.
All right, we've talked to Christian Merritt at Live Oak Finance, which is our financial advisors for the new bonds that were passed. He has recommended that we sell those bonds in July, at the July 20th meeting. Currently, interest rates have increased since the spring, but they feel that all the quotes and things they gave us, that we still fall within that it won't change significantly past what they'd already budgeted. They had given us some cushion with that. They'll have the final rates at this board meeting. We will need to take action, and they'll have a list of actions that you'll need to take. But we need to go ahead and have those sold, and then we need to make an interest-only payment in August. And part of that is so that we can start receiving state funds in this biennium. If we don't do that, you have to wait 2 years before you start receiving those funds. So that's part of the reason why we need to go ahead and do it in July. But that will be coming up. We'll have more information on that July meeting. But we'll go ahead and have all those sold at that time. Anything else on that, Tommy?
He told me the interest payment would be approximately $5,000. We're not gonna be out very much.
And that'll be, is that going to be, I assume that that'll be out of the INS fund balance that's in there, which I think there's 200. But just want to kind of let you know where the bonds are and what's going to come from that. So that'll be next month. You'll have they'll be here, so you can ask any questions of Live Oak. And there'll be a stack of agenda items, I'm sure, for that.
They know when the meeting is, and they know that.
Yes, they know. They've already, as a matter of fact, they have contacted us multiple times to make sure July 20th is it, because I think there's some documentation that they have to specifically put the date. And they just wanted me to remind the board to please be there July 20th. I think it's a big deal if all of a sudden we tried to move that board meeting on them. I think legally with that, we've got a guarantee. I saw today we got a letter for the bond guarantees that we're starting to get the ratings. IRS did make some adjustments. I don't remember talked about this before, but the Guaranteed Bond Fund in Texas had run out of money because of some IRS rules. IRS did change that, and MAUD should qualify to receive that, which would help lower the interest rate from what we had been getting. So I believe they're going to have more information on that when they get here as well.
We have a meeting with Standard & Poor's S&P next week for them to set our bond rating to affect our interest rate as well.
Mr. Van Deever's working hard with them.
Stay on top of it.
Stay on top of it. That's all I had on that.
Item number 10, discussion of construction projects.
All right, overall for construction, we turned in the surveys. If you look out here, I did ask, they have staked the cafeteria. That is not the layout of the building. Those are for civil boring. They just located where they're going to take soil samples from. So it's not completely laid out. They are going to be here, our architects will be here with a group on Monday. They're going to take the actual measurements of our current cafeteria as they start really getting the measurements for the band hall renovation. Our cafeteria has met with our architects and started putting out their wish list and having some discussions, as well as our band hall with Mr. Fannin. We've met and got some rough ideas of that, and they're making some changes to those plans. We have, we'll send to the newspaper this week the actual CMAR publication so that we can start taking bids on our construction manager at risk for the bond projects. What it looks like is we'll publish it for 3 weeks. The bids would be opened in, I believe, July 21st is when that's scheduled to be, and the board would select the construction manager in August at the regular board meeting. The planning documents, they're planning through November. Should have the guaranteed maximum price by the January board meeting, which once that's approved, that would be the begin date of construction. Is kind of what the timeline would be. End date currently for all projects on that would be, on the bonded projects, the cafeteria and the band hall would be July of 25. So that'd be 18 months of construction after the planning documents is what they're looking at currently. Of course, that's what we're going to publish. We'll get more of that. The construction managers, as part of this package, will put together schedules. So depending on their schedules and what we select, that can certainly change as well. And then as far as our construction of the road, we've asked them to change the drive here to be off of the campus. We talked about high school pickup and drop off. They are currently looking at building one between this road in front of that new cafeteria to the high school rather than behind it. So they're giving us some options on that, as well as an option for connecting Olive Street back here on that back campus where we own that property, where that road can continue to be a one-way all the time. So everybody would go the same way on that. So they're going to provide us some alternatives and prices on what that might take as well. So that's kind of where we are with construction. Any questions you gentlemen may have?
Deliberation and possible action to approve contract with architect for Maud ISD's new driveway project.
So we'll have 2 contracts with WRA. What we have here tonight is a resolution that would allow our board president to sign the final contract. We have the price and the cost. So we'll start with, we're on driveway. Driveway cost for the architect is going to be 6.5% of anything over $1 million, which this project should be for new construction, which is what they proposed previously. Their attorneys and our attorneys are working out some of the fine points and fine details of the contract. Doesn't really affect the cost, but just on some of those privileges. What they've given us tonight to go ahead and allow would be, if the board approved, would then allow Milford to sign the final contract next week. The cost of that won't change. It's really just in all this. But I do have a copy if anybody'd like to look at the, how many ever pages this is. But our attorneys have approved, and their attorneys are approving that at this point.
Question? We have a motion to approve the contract with Architect for Malt ISD's new driveway project.
This would be to approve the resolution.
To approve the resolution.
Resolution that would give authority basically to our board president to sign the final.
Exactly what he said. Motion by Terry, do we have a second?
I'll second to approve the resolutions to approve a contract.
All in favor, raise your right hand. That's good. All right, item 12, deliberation and possible action to approve contract with Architect for 2023 Malt ISD bond program.
So same process with the bond. There are a different cost structure. For new construction, for the cafeteria will be at 6.5%. For the renovation of the band hall, it is at 7.5%.
Why the difference?
With just a renovated space, there's more work that have to go in there, and then, of course, once they get into it and start tearing down walls, they don't know everything. So our original proposal, when we adopted this back, when we did the facility study, had it at 6.5 and 8.5. This has actually come in under that, 6.5 to 7.5. So it's broke out by dollars. The more you spend, the less that percentage kind of goes down. So what we predict currently is that it would fall in that 7.5% range.
And this is a resolution.
Resolution to do that as well. So new construction over $1 million is 6.5, and then renovations was 7.5. And this would allow board president again to sign that contract once it's finalized with our attorneys and their attorneys.
All right. Well, I'll make the motion to approve a resolution for the board president to approve a contract, sign a contract
Yes, sir.
for the bond, 2023 Malt ISD bond program project.
Motion by Aaron, got a second? I'll second. Second by Terry, all in favor, raise your right hand. Discuss, consider possible adoption revisions to the FFAC local policy regarding administration of opioid medication.
So this, we've talked about having naloxone on campus. This changes our FFAC local that will allow us to develop, locally develop the superintendent guidelines along with our doctor. This does require us to have a prescription. Dr. Bowen has talked to NECE that they would allow us to have it on campus, and then NECE's developed a guideline system and training for those that can give it. So these will be much like what we have with our epinephrine. Anybody that gives that has to be trained on it. There is some laws and bills that were coming out that may free this up, where we don't have to have this, but we were already in the process of having it, but we want to go ahead and approve it so that we can get started with it. But what we're asking for tonight would be to change this policy that would allow only a registered nurse or designated trained district employee to be able to administer the medication in accordance with that procedures approved by our physician licensed to practice medication.
As far as I understand, you're talking about Narcan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty much harmless if you're not on opioids, so you could give it to anybody passed out, it wouldn't hurt them. So I'm good with that.
That's what I was just fixing to ask y'all, because I know y'all do.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it used a bunch of times recently, and if it's an opioid issue, they come out of it pretty quick, and there's no lasting effects. I mean, people that are not breathing and pretty quick. And
like I said, we've also used it on people that were unconscious and we thought maybe it was an opioid, but it was another drug.
But it didn't have
But
an
it
effect on it.
it has no negative effects. So, just blocks are high. So,
We just feel with all the overdoses anywhere, I mean, this is not just for students, it could be a student. There certainly have been students that have unfortunately had that, but it also could be adults at games or anything else that we have. But we did talk to the BFD, which they currently don't have anything here in Maude. So we felt like it'd be, last time I talked to them, they had not yet. So they may be working on that.
County should have quite a bit of it at the courthouse.
It just, sometimes that
Pass it out.
response time is, you know, when we had the employee in the medical emergency here, we had a 12-minute response time, and then we had another one 2 days later, and it was almost 50 minutes before they got here. It just depends on where they are, so we'd like to have it here on campus. Like I said, Nisi's going to work with Dr. Bowen to develop all of that. Of course, she's well ahead of the game already, so.
I mean, with the fentanyl crisis the way it is right now, I think that it is very needed and necessary, so I think it's a good deal.
And our SHAC committee, if y'all remember in their recommendations last time, also as parents, felt like this was something they really wanted to pursue. So I'd recommend us approving that policy, and then she'll continue to work with it. If for some reason the state changes the law and just makes it easier, then it shouldn't affect this at all.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Aaron. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Second by Terry. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, consider and approve policy update 121 local and discuss legal policy.
So 121 is an update. This is a pre-legislative update. It really has no major changes in policy. It's mainly wording. We're moving things from one policy to the next. There's some security where there are multiple policies that we're addressing the security personnel, and they're just putting it all in one policy. I didn't see anything that would be a major change in any policy. It's mainly just wording and/or relocation of it. Certainly, as TASB has gone through this and recommended that, I'd certainly recommend that we approve the update. There'll be more to come.
Any questions?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Aaron. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Second by Terry. All in favor, raise your right hand. Next up, item number 15, discuss STAR testing.
All right, STAR testing and results. We've talked about this a little bit. We do not have any results with the new STAR test that we had that come out. What we did receive is those that are likely to have passed, those that are likely to have failed, and then a large swath in some areas of the zone of uncertainty that it could go either way. And in some of our areas, we may have 80% that passed, that we know are likely to have passed, but then we have other places where there's 10 or 15% likely to pass, 10% likely to fail, and 80% of your kids are in the uncertainty zone. So we don't have those. Ms. Howe did a tremendous job of kind of using the data that we do have, and what we do have is number of correct and scale score, and just kind of comparing it to other districts. And she went through each one of ours and just kind of looked over how we did. We did well in a lot of areas and scored better than others. I think social studies in both 8th grade and U.S. history were areas that we are concerned when we compare those to the new test. Now with this new test, 25% of it became short answer or essay, went away from multiple choice, and I know that was a big difference for some of our kids in that. But overall, we feel like our kids did pretty well. We just won't have that. And I believe what we've now heard is it'll be closer to September probably.
They said the 11th, but I don't know. They said August the 11th, but I'm still skeptical.
So it may be mid-August before we even have the true pass-fail and have a percentage of our kids, and then the actual results we're really not going to have until closer to the end of August is what we're predicting. So as certainly as we have them, we will bring them. Our principals and Ms. Brower really worked on getting kids up here to summer school that we thought were in that zone of uncertainty or that we knew that had failed. But this is certainly new to all of us. But overall, we felt pretty good for having a new curriculum, a new test, first time to test online. I think it was overall positive, but that some of those test scores could certainly still swing in that zone of uncertainty anyway. So as soon as we have those, we'll make sure that we get them presented to you guys as soon as we can. But I know this time in the summer, we usually coming back and talking about, kind of here's the percentages or what we think on. We just don't have that information. Do what?
Like a fire drill.
It's going to be like a fire drill. We're going to be in the middle of school when that starts, and then what they've done to us recently from TEA is we'll get the data maybe 48 hours before they release it publicly. So we don't always have a whole lot of time to digest it or be able to prepare ourselves to start answering questions. But overall, we felt like we did okay. We did get the what if, the accountability is changing as well. It really, our what if score, which is they took all of the accountability data from last time and put it in this new system. Maude actually, most schools are dropping. Maude actually stayed, we went up a point, but stayed kind of current to where we were. A lot of that is because we're one campus. If anybody ever asks you, being one campus helps us tremendously in that accountability. Now, with these grants that are coming out, like the security grant that's paying per campus, we're going to generate less funds than what other campuses would be, but accountability-wise, it certainly does help us to be considered as one school. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of update you on what we knew about STAR, and that we'll give you more information as soon as we have it. Principals, anything else y'all want to say on your STAR?
I mean, the writing was anticipated that we would need, to work on that, and that we could see that where we needed that, but that was expected for, especially 3rd and 4th grade.
Writing is now included in all of our, what's now RLA, but it used to be our English language arts, but our reading language arts, where in the past it was only 4th and 7th grade. It's now being incorporated in each grade in that RLA. So a little bit different for those kids, 3rd graders. It's the first time they've ever had to write on an assessment. So big change. But what I'm confident of, and I think we've shown as the school district is, once we get this information back, we'll learn from it and certainly improve. But overall, we were pleased on what we saw.
Superintendent's report.
Maintenance update, certainly trying to get everything ready for school with our teachers and trainings and committees. Janitors are cleaning and waxing. Now that summer school's over, they'll have a good rush to try to finish all these buildings before school does start. We've brought in Air Now to do our summer maintenance on all the HVAC. They'll be starting next week, or they start now, aren't they? Ended next week. Trying to get all our maintenance. Last year after we did our HVAC replacement and summer maintenance, our HVAC company called us and asked if we were mad at them because we hadn't called them all year, but we hadn't had any issues. So replacing those have been good. We had our HVAC replacement plan. We didn't do any this year, anticipating the bond to see where that construction would go. The next set of 8 HVAC units that need to be replaced were at the cafeteria. That'll be covered with the school bond money. The next set were the high school units, which are 21 years old. I went ahead and had Air Now kind of pull a quote for that. Tommy's got that budgeted in for next year's budget for your consideration, and certainly be decisions that can be made. We're going to go ahead and put the money in there. If we're going to have the high school another 8 or 10 years before we may be able to do something with that. They're already 20 years old. It's right at $59,000, I think, was what the quotes came back at. So certainly something to consider. The next units, after those, we start getting into the elementary, which are 12 to 13 years old, and this building, and the tech building. If you can believe that, that's the next oldest one. So I think we've done a good job getting these replaced. So we've got those. We replaced ag lights. We updated all the ag shop lights. Put LED in those, as well as this classroom and welding booths. We were able to replace all of those with some new LED fixtures. It was something we've been kind of looking at. We use some additional CTE money that we had, and then we may or may not get some more grant money that we'll look at to have an opportunity to help out there in the ag shop. Legislative update. Tommy kind of hit it right now. There's a ton of bills that are coming out. We're still kind of seeing what they are as far as how they're going to affect education for next year. Of course, school security. I do feel like currently we are in a good position, but there are some new rules that are coming out on security that will have to be in place for the 24-25 school year. There is some grant money that will be coming down the Pike to help us with those. We currently are in compliance with the current rule, so we should be able to apply for that first wave of grant for next school year. The armed officer on every campus, we do have an armed officer on this campus, and you can also count guardians. They're still kind of defining what that's going to look like, but I do feel the school's going to be in compliance there. As he talked about with budgets, the next thing was teacher raises. It's hung up over the voucher fight. Currently, no new money for teacher raises, and really currently no new money for schools. There is some change in the golden pennies and et cetera that I think will give us, some increase, but not near what we were promised with the historic fund balances. Although the commissioner told us they funded education at a historical level this year, we're not seeing that in the bottom line of our budgets. But I think it's just how you count certain items that got through or that may get through. We are counting all the items that haven't got through that may when the special sessions come through. So we'll see how that goes. As far as the legislative update, certainly some new trainings that teachers are going to have to do that have come out, and we'll continue to monitor those legislative laws and bills. We'll look forward to the new TASB updates, and student handbooks have not been released. We anticipate those in July, and then our principal's going to work on those and bring those back to you. Either at hopefully the July meeting, we'll have all that to be able to bring back. I think that's it.
All right, I gotta read all this, don't I?
May I just say accession?
You might have to read one code.
Yeah, just read that one code.
All right, next executive session, we will discuss personnel, Texas Governing Code Section 551.074, and we will go into executive session at 7:09 p.m. Return to regular session at 8:33 p.m. Next item up is to amend counselor contracts from 11 to 12 months.
I'll make a motion to amend the contract of the high school counselor, I guess,
Yes.
from 11 months to 12 months.
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. And accept resignation from employees. Do we have a motion to accept the resignation from Ms. Land?
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Diana Land.
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. And lastly, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand.